the leader of the Lib Dems, the leader of the Conservatives, and the leader of the Left Labour Party, no to racism and fascism. We want the political parties to say no to anti-immigrant politics. Political parties should not be scrabbling in the gutter with UKIP for anti-immigrant votes. It is not immigrants that cause low wages. Exploitative employers cause low wages. It is not immigrants that are a drain on the National Health Service. Without immigrants, we wouldn't have a National Health Service. Time to end the lies and misinformation about immigration. Time to stand up against racism and fascism. Time to make people at Westminster know that the Mail and the rest of the tabloid press do not speak for us. We are coming up to an election in May. We don't want to see a dirty politics that scapegoats immigrants for the current economic problems. So we say to politicians in all parties, no to racism, no to fascism. Thank you.
Brother's keeper, and of course never cross a picket line. We absolutely have to stand in the trade union movement for all of those people who will otherwise be scapegoated. You know, I've got a t-shirt which says hated by the Daily Mail, and I have to tell you, almost every one of you standing here could be wearing it. The fact is that Daily Mail and their ilk are peddling a message of despair and hate, and we have to be the people who say no. We stand for a message of hope. We stand together. We stand for a united community. We stand for a mixed community. We stand together. Comrades, this is a great rally. Thank you very much for being here. The NUT will always stand against racism and fascism.
Who live in this country, who contribute to this country. But there's one community over the decades and centuries has probably had more attacks and has been more oppressed than many others, and that's the Roma community.
Off the streets, but it's with the support of the council. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce the Mayor of Tower Hamlets, Lutfur Rahman.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I come from Tower Hamlets. I'm very proud to be here. We have many people from Tower Hamlets here. Glenn Robbins United Against Fascism. We have John McLaughlin from Unison, Dilwar Khan from the London Muslim Centre, and other brothers and sisters from the East End. We are a proud group of people, proud borough. We are integrated, multiculturalism, and people of all faith and no faith. Tower Hamlets has been the home to the immigrant communities for hundreds of years. The Jewish community, French Huguenots, the Bangladeshi Muslims, now the Somali community. And we have been proud to understand and celebrate our diversity, our similarity, and understand our differences. In the recent past, we have had our troubles. We've had also mostly fascists, the black shirts. They were kicked out of Tower Hamlets. We've had the BNP and the National Front in the 70s. And recently we had the English Defence League. And what we did, all of us stood together as one community to send out a strong message that there is no place for hate in Tower Hamlets. I come here in that spirit. I'm so pleased to see people of all backgrounds, black and white, people of faith and no faith, trade unionists, and we want to send out a message to the community outside. We live in a global community. For press of a button you can converse to someone else in another part of the world. For press of a button you can do business to someone else in another part of the world.
Here, they should all go home. So I stopped for a minute and thought to myself, I said to her, how long have I got, madam, in this country? She said, what do you mean? I said, my parents were born in Canada, so I've got to leave the country. If you think that everybody's parents are abroad, I should leave the country. Oh no, she said, I don't mean you. I knew who she meant. She meant brown people. She meant black people. She meant people who spoke a funny English. They meant people with long black beards. Those are the people she was talking about, not me, because I'm white and I was born here. It was pure racism. And I said to her, go up to the Royal Free Hospital. I've just had my prostate out at the Royal Free Hospital, and the doctor who did it came from Egypt, and the nurse in charge of the ward was Irish, and the nurse in charge of me was Nigerian. And I believe in interracial mixing because it's a wonderful thing for all of us. Absolutely for all of us. Normally, I'm on a platform talking about nuclear weapons and CND. These are not too far apart, because the obstacle on nuclear weapons is precisely ignorant British racism, that we are more powerful than anybody else. We are British, so we need to have the bomb. It's exactly the same thing that motivates racists about other people here. I won't go on any longer. I believe it's perfectly possible, we're doing it all the time, to live together in peace and harmony in this world and make it a better place. Thank you for coming today. Thank you all.
Thank you, Bruce, and I'd like to thank the CND who host the Palestine Solidarity Campaign. Welcome to the PSC, wave your flag. Great to see you here. In the early days when we were getting this act together and talking about it, we had to approach people to see if they would commit to today, commit money and commit organisations. And Unison was one of the unions that was prepared to do it. Unison, thank you.
I want to bring you greetings, solidarity and support from Unison. Over 1 million Unison members standing up against racism. And you know the reason why we have to continue to fight against racism, fascism, Islamophobia and homophobia is because Britain is becoming more unequal. Austerity is reversing years of progress on equality and action that we have taken to eradicate inequalities. Unemployment of young black males is at a record high. Almost 1 in 2 are unemployed. Public sector job cuts are having a disproportionate impact on jobs and services and local communities. Friends, we stand in the way of the Tory crusade to cut the welfare state, to privatise our NHS, and we stand in their way against the slide towards social regression. So friends, we have to stop this race to the bottom in driving down pay and public sector pensions. And you know, we have to say loud and clear that the nurses deserve a better deal. They deserve a pay rise. But more importantly, we need to make our votes count in May. So let's start the fight back, because we can make the difference. We must ensure that we call for an end to this toxic, poisonous campaign of racial scaremongering, migrant scapegoating, and we call for an end to the sensational reporting on race, and we call for an end to anti-immigrant prejudice, because immigrants have been the driving force and the backbone in building the British economy. We must campaign harder to end the scourge of low pay. And friends, I want to say to you, migrant workers are being exploited. They're amongst the lowest paid, and it's one of our greatest challenges. So we must mobilize during the TUC's fortnight for fair pay. But more importantly, we must come out on October the 18th to ensure that we have the largest national demonstration organized by the TUC after the poll tax. We have to stand up and be counted. We have to say no. Britain must not vie with UKIP in the political gutter. We will not accept that. We want an end to discrimination. We want an end to this poisonous scapegoating of immigrants and racism. We want to stand up and be counted. We deserve better. So thank you all for standing in the way. Thank you for making the difference, and have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. Thank you, Unison. Our next speaker stands up regularly. He stood up against the wall. He stands up for Palestine. He stands up against racism. Jeremy Corbyn.
My friends, thank you very much, everyone, for being here today, filling Trafalgar Square with union banners, anti-racist banners, community banners, filling the square with people from all over this country, from all religions, all backgrounds, all languages. This is the answer to UKIP and the BNP. We are strong, we are united, we are not going to be divided by those people. And when they say that all the problems of the world can be dealt with by wars, by greed and by markets, I tell them this: the wars have killed thousands and cost billions. The markets are starving and killing people in a deeply and more deeply divided world. And the consequences of that are xenophobia across Europe. The consequences of that are people dying in boats trying to get to Lampedusa, in people dying in boats trying to get to the Canary Islands, and across the Atlantic, poor migrant workers from Central American countries dying trying to get into the United States. That is where xenophobia and racism ultimately leads to, where navies blockade the poor trying to survive. I think we have an answer to this, and the answer doesn't lie in free markets and wars and weapons. The answer lies in a different construction of our society. And so when they try to blame immigration into this country for all of the problems, such as housing, such as health, such as education, and many other things, I simply say this: if there hadn't been migration into Britain since the Second World War, what kind of health service would we have? What kind of transport system would we have? What kind of education service would we have? What kind of science-based industries would we have? What kind of industries would we have? In short, what kind of society would we have? I think we all know the answer. We would be poor, we would be marginalised, we would be a less creative, less culturally aware and less diverse society. I like living in London with its diversity. I like London for its strength of communities. I like London for the way in which people have identities relating to their community, to the community they've come from, to other parts of the UK that they've come from. There is nothing wrong in that. And when Cameron and company were so happy to parade to the rest of the world the Multicultural Olympics, what happened a year later with yet more nasty immigration legislation to divide families? What happened when they started blaming immigration on the housing crisis? I'll tell you this, there's a great way of solving the housing crisis. Take the unemployed off the unemployment queue and give them work building council houses for everybody. And controlling private rents and investing in the health service and treating people as human beings. Because for every immigration statistic, for every student statistic, for every asylum statistic, there is a human story. The human spirit is stronger than the racists. Our unity is stronger than anything they can muster. United we are strong. United we are successful. Divided we lose and are weak. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for standing up against the racists.
Thank you, Jeremy, and thank you, London Met students united against racism. I think it's the best banner on the day. Well done. Thank you very much. I feel sorry for our next speaker.
And I've just seen the signs and the messages that we are sending here today. We are saying no human is illegal. Hold your banner up. We're saying no to racism. We're saying we're here to stand up to fascism. Now let me just tell forest. And we said, no, you have no rights on our streets. And I look around and we were there and we stopped them. Remember when the police told us we couldn't stop them? And we said, their streets. Whose streets? Our streets. Whose city? Our city. Whose London? Our London. And so when I came here and I was on that banner today at the front, and I was remembering where I was coming to, and I was remembering that the first time I came here to Trafalgar Square was wearing a nurse's cloak when I was much, much younger. And I was standing there with nurses, and we were in solidarity because we wanted freedom in South Africa. We stood by our comrades in South Africa and we saw freedom come. Do you remember that image where the people were standing for days to vote? And it brings me to my point here today. We are the people. We are government. And it's where we put our X that matters. And I'm saying to you, your family, your friends, you have it in your power to put your X where it matters. But you first ask the question of that politician and you say, what is your position? Are you willing to say no to? Are you willing to say no to? And that's when they get your effing vote, not until they say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeanette. I hope PCS, you're ready to wave your flag.
Fantastic to see so many people here standing up against racism. We must remember, we are the majority, those of us that stand up against racism, those of us that stand in unity. Yesterday was the United Nations International Day for the Elimination of Racism. And the theme this year is to call on leaders to stamp out racism. Well, actually, our leaders in this country are the ones creating a racist state, an apartheid state in the UK. So I think that they should be sanctioned by the UN for their failure to combat racism. And we should call on them and put pressure on them. I bring greetings from Mark Swatka, who's the General Secretary of PCS, and also from my co-chair of Barrack, Lee Jasper, who can't be here today. Solidarity and unity all the way. Those of us, like myself, who are second generation in this country, pass to our children a worse future than that was passed to us when our parents faced the no dogs, no blacks, no Irish, no blacks, no Irish, no dogs signs, saying that we weren't welcome in Great Britain. And what we're seeing now is a return of this type of vile racism. We've had the racist go home advance, we've got the immigration bill, stop and search of people to look at their immigration status, and austerity is amplifying race discrimination. Disproportionate impact of job cuts, of service cuts, and hurting migrant communities and black communities. And when I talk about black, I go back to the historical use of the term black, which is an inclusive term to incorporate everybody of colour, a term of empowerment and unity. In some local authorities here in London, where black workers make up 5 to 7% of their workforce, they make up 50 to 60% of the redundancies. So all of us here today, we need to stand up against gross discrimination, racism, the attacks on migrants, the attacks by the far right, the attacks by government leaders who see us as third-class citizens in this country. We need to stand in unity and we need to say no to racism, no to fascism. We're not going to stand by when you see somebody impacted by racism. You need to stand up, speak out, come together and push them down into the gutter where they belong. Solidarity!
Thank you, Zita. You look like you're in need of a bit of culture, so we're going to have a slight change of pace. We're going to make sure
contribute. I'm not here to take anyone's benefits. I'm not here to take a job that I haven't earned. I'm here standing before you as a 23-year-old young man from an estate, second-generation immigrant, Cambridge graduate, to tell you that it's a new day. It's a new day. Do you know why I put myself out here for all to see? Because no one cares about my brothers more than me. Of course we're disadvantaged, but we will take control by force, because this is carnage. So I rearrange my priorities. I don't care if I kill the game and they don't want to crown me. The only reason people feel what I'm saying is because I'm still the same when there's no one around me. You see, my city has a lot of faces. Some can tell you what a loss of faces. My city has a lot of faces. 4 of them belonging to Big Ben, the rest of them hidden behind big business. And Big Brother ensures all of them are monitored with them. Under social tension, you can see London languishes. 30% minorities, 300 languages, differences, race and class is all enormous, but the common ground we found surpasses all the borders. You see, my city has a lot of faces. And there's strength in numbers. See, this immunity is fine, but as long as you remember, this community is mine. Most of us want to sit back, soak up the sun and sip yak. Poke fun and joke run with no gun, no membership fee. This place belongs to us. Come and defend it with me. Let's fight against helplessness. Fight against selfishness. Let's be our own #1 fans and well-wishers. They say the condition of the streets is vicious, like every other one of us now sleeps with fishes, but...
Students. The absolute racist filth from politicians and the media is poisoning society. Unfortunately, our campuses are not immune. Childline recently reported on the shocking 69% increase in the number of young people contacting them about racist bullying in schools, a figure they themselves put down to the current disgusting debate on immigration. On our campuses, we're seeing blacking up, fascists attempting to speak, and more cases of shocking racism. Last week, I was contacted by 2 Muslim women students. They had both been the victims of a sustained campaign of hatred and abuse.
Yeah, I made some mistakes I ain't proud of. Said a lot of things I wish never left my mouth done. Yeah, now I'm looking back at regret, looking back at my worst to push me back to my best. And I don't know why everybody's saying YOLO, but they don't know how many lives that a pussycat has left. These are the thoughts that are fully trapped in my head. I'm a thought short of a bullet scratching my flesh. And I'm tired of saying sorry, relying on my pride, I'm trying to say it for me. So many people still waiting for an apology. So many people still waiting for it to bother me. And it just did, so just did. Must bring himself to justice. I am as guilty as charged, and I'm sorry from the bottom of the filthiest hearts. What I've done, I need saving from put your hands up. Put your hands in the air. Afraid of what I've become. Am I sinking slowly? Can't see what's below me. Hey, hopelessly praying for what I've done. Well, you all make mistakes, but only some of us learn from them. Common sense, but only the words common. Father God, forgive me for my sins. My conscience has been asleep, and that's why I haven't heard from him. Let's talk about calluses, the people they can get to without buying my hours. Only thing they can do is freestyle. But meanwhile, George, the jury's out, I'm still being trial. Yo, they wanna judge me as I stand in the stop. It's like people criticizing them, yo, they have to watch. Hey! Tells me I haven't the right to be here. On London Underground, the current attack against us is about getting rid of jobs on the Underground, 1,000 jobs. And as you know, those of you who live in London, we had a very successful strike a number of weeks ago. And we may have to go there again, because the bosses are not moving. In fact, they're having greater attacks. They're taking hostages. 2 of our members have been put up on Trump charges because they call scabs scabs. They call people who have gone into work against defending jobs. And as far as I'm concerned, that's what a scab is.
So don't watch mine. No.
ignored by the politicians. The so-called economic recovery only goes down so far. This is so-called hard times. Robin's going to come and play some trumpet. Nelson Mandela got to do with immigration? Absolutely everything, of course. He's one of the great leaders of anti-racism in the world. We should never forget that. He is a shining example of sacrifice, struggle and commitment for a cause against racism. That's why we're all here today. So I'm just going to play this one for Nelson Mandela, for Bob Crow and for Tony Benn.